Can we just talk about the big girls that lose weight and they become mean? Like, I'm a big girl, okay? But I've never been mean. Nor will I ever become mean, inshallah. Like, why do you think just because you've lost weight, you can now talk down to everybody, you can now look at other and be like, oh, yeah, like, that used to be you. And then, respectfully, some of you big girls, yeah, just because...
So, are you, like, really into the gym and stuff? Okay, good, because I need to date someone that's in the gym. Wait, you're gonna order a full sugar soda? I'll just take a water with a lemon, please. Yeah, I'm not even gonna read the menu. Can I just do, like, a grilled salmon or grilled chicken, please? Wait, you're gonna order an appetizer and an entree? You're not even gonna get your burger, like, protein style?
Because 9 times out of 10, I think the stereotype that formally people all become mean or is really overblown, except in like one case that I'll get to in a minute. Because 9 times out of 10, when someone lost a lot of weight and then we see them start being like more assertive, or maybe they're even becoming like a little bit more aggressive, something else like that, people are like, oh yeah, it's because they're... When really that's just confirmation bias. It's the same thing as when you're in an Uber and the Uber driver, like maybe some driver in front of them is bad. And then they pass the driver and they're like, oh yeah, it turns out it was a woman.
Yes, the ex-big girl to mean girl pipeline. I've heard a lot about this on the internet recently. Basically, this describes the phenomena, I guess, of girls who lost weight recently and have now become thin and pretty and turned into mean girls. They just can't stop talking about their weight loss. They can't stop putting other girls down. And as an girl turned girl myself, I have some thoughts on this. Number one being that I wish I'd been meaner. What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel or Spotify podcast if you are listening on Spotify. So today we're talking about the ex-big girl to mean girl pipeline. I have seen a lot of different funny reels mostly on this subject. I've also seen some people who were quite serious about ex-girls and ex-people in general just turning into mean people after they lost the weight. But I was inspired to do this video because one of you sent me a message through my website and you told me your story of how you watched my girl identity video and how you realized after watching that you had been holding on to your own, I guess, girl, or in this case, the viewer who reached out to me was a man. So hi, D, I'll call you D. I thought that we would talk a little bit about what you said though in that message. And you talked about how the fat man identity had kept you from losing weight. Part of your subconscious beliefs or why you think that maybe this was what was keeping you from actually losing the weight and being successful is that you associated thinness or being in shape with being really full of yourself, with being a mean person, with being the kind of people who used to make fun of you when you were younger. And I thought that was really interesting because I think it goes to show how our beliefs really can shape who we are. And when it comes to weight loss, there are many reasons and subconscious beliefs that hold us back. One of those could be, like, D said in his message, that he thought, well, if I become really fit, I'm going to turn into a jerk. And I don't want that to be me. I don't want that to happen. But now that there are lots of people on Ozempic, on GLP-1s, there are a lot more people who are now losing weight and being thin for the first time. And a lot of people are noticing. And we talk about weight loss all the time on this channel, how it can change your life, but also how it impacts others and how a lot of times, unfortunately, others are not happy for you when you lose the weight. So in seeing this girl to mean girl discourse, I've got quite a few different thoughts on it because I have been accused of being a mean girl myself as an ex-big. So first off, let's just talk about, okay, what the mean girl is, what the mean girl trope is. And we all know it pretty plain and clear. Think the movie Mean Girls, right? We typically were told through media that the mean girl, she was always pretty and she was always really thin and she was rich. She's always a popular girl. And she was a girl that just, loved to put other girls down. She made fun of us when we were in high school or elementary school. And I think that we have all encountered someone like this. The trope exists for a reason, right? I think for sure there are really attractive, really successful people who are just mean for no reason, seemingly. Like they just are. And I think a lot of this can do with the fact that they grew up being told that they were pretty and amazing since day one. Maybe they were spoiled, especially if they were rich. So they're used to getting whatever they want. They're used to people falling at their feet. They're used to feeling better than other people. They have a sense of superiority to them. And for some people, yeah, this turns them into a mean person. It's just maybe how they were raised or how they've learned to cope with life. I mean, who knows? I always do say though, that if you have someone who has it all, and you think, why in the world would they even bother with me, right? Because they're richer than me, they're skinnier, they're prettier. There usually is always something going on with them. And I don't mean like, oh, poor, pretty, rich girl, like we have to have sympathy. Not necessarily. We all make our choices. That doesn't condone you being a bad person. But for sure, if someone is going to waste their time putting others down, if they feel they have to put others down to feel superior or to feel better, it is because they have a deep sense of insecurity. So even though they may be pretty and rich, maybe they have a mother or father who talks down to them all the time at home. Maybe there's some other stuff going on, but for whatever reason, they don't feel good or confident themselves, even if they appear to be, which is why they are a jerk. There's really no other reason why someone would waste their time to put others down if they themselves did not feel good enough. So that's really what makes a mean girl. It's not just that she's pretty and happy and popular. Oftentimes I find people who really do have it all together, who are successful and happy, they tend to be nicer people, or they're just people who mind their business. Because if you are truly happy and confident, yeah, you have no reason to put others down. However, multiple things can be true at the same time. So yes, there are some pretty people, some popular people who are just mean for no reason. I also think, though, that a lot of times pretty people are targeted, sometimes even more than less attractive people. And I can say this from my own experience of being both overweight and the ugly girl to then having a glow up and being the thin, pretty girl. And something I never expected was to be hated for being than other people or for being pretty. I always thought that my main issue was that I was big and, no one wanted to be my friend and I didn't fit in. So I thought, well, once I lose the weight, then everything will be fine and people will treat me better. Yes and no. I was right. They did treat me better, but not always. So here's the thing about sometimes being a really pretty person or standing out more than others is that you will also be targeted by people who are jealous of you. You will also get all kinds of different stereotypes put onto you just because of the way you look. Similar to the stereotypes and things that are put onto you when you are. So I experienced this for sure. People want to think that you're stuck up or rude because you're not talking. When you're pretty, then you're stuck up and rude. When you're big, it's just because, oh, you're miserable and you're sad and you're a loner. You will also deal with a lot of jealousy, specifically from women who are jealous of the fact that they think that you look better than them. And so they have to find ways to put you down. You will experience it from men as well. I experienced this even from like adult men, like teachers. I really think it comes down to the kill the cheerleader trope, which is like the guys who were maybe made fun of in high school and could never get the cheerleader, and the cheerleader type was really mean to them. Now they're older and teachers, and they see a girl who looks like the mean girl that they went to in high school, the one that rejected them. And so now they just feel the need to be awful to her, to put all their anger on her. So you have that. You also have a lot of weird attention from men, right? If you're prettier, you stand out more. Yeah, you're going to get a lot more guys trying to talk to you. And oftentimes they're going to be weirdos. So I can understand how sometimes a lot of pretty people, they have to be a bitch on the outside. And I think that it's easier to see when it comes to men, right? As women, we all know, we get approached by weird guys a lot. And you kind of have to have that bitchy attitude to warn them off. It doesn't always work, right? Sometimes you try being nice, that doesn't work. So I think some of the pretty girls have realized, hey, if I am more of a bitch, if I'm more standoffish, then people like that are less likely to approach me. So I think there's something to be said about that as well. And then, like I said too, right? I think a lot of girls who maybe grow up being beautiful all their life, they have to deal with other women being jealous of them or being weird to them. So I can imagine that they also have to have a tougher exterior, because if you do not, then you will be run over, so to speak. And I think that this was something that I did not understand, going from the big girl to just wanting to fit in. And now I was really pretty and I was a model and I was just nice to everyone because I just thought that's what I had to be. And I'd always been a nice person, but I got talked down to a lot. I got run over a lot. because I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand that they were jealous of me. I couldn't understand why anyone would be jealous of me. And me being too nice ended with me putting up with a lot more BS than I really should have, only just because I didn't recognize it at the time, what was really going on. And I say this with girls, with guys, being too nice when you are someone who attracts a lot of attention, when you are a pretty girl, will only be to your detriment, because there is nothing worse than being someone who attracts a lot of attention, but also a lot of jealousy and hate for that attention, and being too nice, because those who are crueler, those who are bolder, those who are really jealous, they will see that. They will zero in on the fact that you're too nice, and they will take advantage of that. And you really have to learn how to stand your ground. This is only something I've learned really like later in life. Like I said, I wish I had been meaner back then. I wish I had stood my ground more back then. I wish I'd realized what was going on, because these people, just like we said with the pretty girl trope, okay, they are insecure with themselves. And so they are going to find someone to try and put beneath them, because that's all they can do to make themselves feel better. And oftentimes people coming after this pretty girls are not skinny or prettier themselves. So that's interesting. I think that's another topic that we should talk about, how the big girls became the mean girls, because I think we see a lot of that in today's world, especially. Really, regardless of what you look like, I think that it is good advice to learn to be more confident, to learn to be more bold, and to learn to stick up for yourself. Because yeah, no matter whether you are really pretty or not, people are going to mess with you. But especially if you are someone outside the norm who attracts a lot of attention. And like I said, this could be either because you're really pretty or because of the opposite, like I was on both ends of the spectrum. So in regards to this, so the ex-big girl, all of a sudden she loses weight and she just thinks she's the shit and she just turns into a mean girl. Look, I'm not saying that there are not those people. There are those people for sure who, once they lose the weight, once they feel a little more attractive, their personality totally shifts and they become an awful person. Sometimes you see this with people who get famous and successful. They totally shift and all of a sudden, they don't want to be friends with you. You're a peasant, right? And they turn into a different person. Yes, this is true. This happens. Fame, money, success, looking better, more confidence can change a person. Or I should say, really doesn't change a person. What I believe is that if you have a person who was the underdog before, now all of a sudden they have all this fame and success, every opportunity under their fingertips, I don't think it changes a person so much as it allows them to become more of who they already are. So I think if you truly see someone in your life who loses weight and then all of a sudden becomes really awful or doesn't want to talk to you because she believes you're no longer like on her tier, or if you have a friend who becomes rich and successful and now all of a sudden is just super into themselves, only hangs out with other rich people, then that was who they were all along. They just didn't have the confidence or didn't have the means to be who they were because they knew that they weren't before. They knew that they weren't pretty enough or weren't successful or rich enough to be who they really wanted to be. And that's unfortunate, but it is true. For some people, that is what happens. But again, I wouldn't say that it changes people. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the weight loss. It wasn't the success. What it was is who that person was deep down. However, I also think that when people lose weight, they become successful, all the things, they do change as a person, but that change is often interpreted by others around them for something that it's not. So for example, if you want to become, I don't know, a really rich CEO, a really rich business owner, well, you are going to have to change as a person. If you are already not that now, you're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to make sacrifices. You're going to have to do things that you're not doing now. And when you do become rich and successful, you will have a different life and different priorities than you do now. Some people in your life can understand that. Other people won't. Okay. Other people will see you working hard, not hanging out with them, going to different meetings with different people. And they'll see that as, oh, you're abandoning me. You think that you're better than me now that, you have a different schedule and now that you have different priorities. And so even though you yourself have not changed, you are still the same person at your core. I mean, your life has had a change and other people won't always understand that. And that same can be said for weight loss. We've talked about this before on this channel. When you are in a weight loss journey, you have to change your priorities. You have to change the way you eat. You have to change who you are, essentially, at least in those areas of your life to meet a goal. You have to become more disciplined. So when you have friends who can't understand, well, why aren't you hanging out with us anymore? You're going to the gym instead of hanging out with me. They see that as abandonment. They see that as you choosing something else over them. Or when they see you eating healthy instead of eating the crap food that they're eating, if they are insecure, they will see that as, she thinks she's better than us. She doesn't want to eat junk food anymore. She can no longer stay out late drinking beer and eating pizza with us. Oh, that's because she thinks she's a Pilates princess now, right? Like people get weird about it. So they interpret your actions as being an affront against them, when in reality, it's just you doing what's best for yourself. Doesn't mean that you feel differently about them, but it means that they feel differently about you, which makes them feel differently about themselves, because it holds a mirror basically up to them where they see, wow, she started where I came from, and yet she looks a lot better than I am now. So really, I have no excuse. And a lot of people don't like that. There is also a change in your demeanor after you lose the weight. For a lot of people, I know for me especially, you become more confident, because when you like what you see in the mirror, when you are confident with yourself after having lost the weight, after seeing the results that you did on your own, it's an awesome feeling. And it does make you feel more confident. It makes you feel more capable. And so your demeanor may change. You may stick up for yourself more. You may put more effort into your appearance. You can hold your head higher. Some people who are insecure and don't like this change in you, they'll see this change as, oh, she's arrogant. Oh, she thinks she's better than us. Now she just thinks she's more attractive than everyone else. Or if they were someone who used to talk down to you, whether in jest or were just always a jerk, and now that you are more confident, now that you're thinner, now that you are fitter, you're not going to take that treatment anymore. So you talk back to them and they're like, oh my God, where did this person come from? She changed. Well, now she's mean, even though that's literally just you speaking up for yourself, but they're not used to it. So they're going to call you a mean girl. And obviously I can't say for certain for every case of every fat girl to skinny girl who suddenly became a mean girl. I can't say that this is always the case. I can't say that all of these people online talking about, oh, why are ex-fats so mean, blah, 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 that it's simply because of what I just explained, that they are interpreting their friend's change or change in demeanor as them being mean, when in reality, it's just them being happy with who they are, being confident. But for sure, I think a lot of this discourse is exactly that. I think that unfortunately, you have a lot of miserable people in the world who will see other success as evidence that they themselves are not successful, or they will be jealous of that success because they may claim body positivity and I love being big, but in reality, they are not happy with themselves. They are not. And so when they see someone else lose weight, someone else become confident, they are jealous of that fact. And so they have to interpret it as that being a mean girl. That girl, she's just turned into an, oh, that's wrong. That's toxic. She shouldn't be doing that. That's diet culture. And I also see this a lot with my content for sure. Tough love and just basically saying, hey, being not good for you. If you're fat, you should lose the weight. This is just the reality. They interpret anyone who is anti-body positive or anti-health at every size as being a mean person. Anyone who disagrees with them, anyone who is going to speak the truth, anyone who speaks the reality that being obese is not healthy, well, because they disagree with that, because it goes against their mantra, it goes against their lifestyle, then that person is automatically a mean person. They're automatically an awful person for speaking the truth. And I think they especially come after ex-big girls or ex-fat people because, like I said, it holds a mirror up to themselves. The more people who have successfully lost weight and are now talking about how awesome it is and how you can do it too, the less excuse it gives them to be fat, the less excuse it gives them to not try. Because when you have all these people who are saying, oh, actually, I just got in a treadmill and I started counting my and I also thought I couldn't lose weight. Turns out I can. Turns out when you just are consistent and you do the right things, then you will lose weight. And they hate to hear that because they want to believe that it is impossible for them, because they do not want to try, because they themselves, many reasons, they are lazy. They are so deeply enmeshed in this lifestyle, in this health at every size lifestyle, that this threatens who they are, threatens their entire identity, or because they themselves believe that they can't do it. And so they want to stop other people from doing it, which is how they turn into the new era of mean girl, the big mean girl. And I hate to say it, as someone who formerly was a girl and was the bullied one and was entirely too nice and too sweet for my own good, I had many stereotypes put upon me simply for being. But now the reality is, at least when you look online, a lot of the people doing all the bullying now, the body positivity people, they've turned into the mean girls, which just goes to show it was never really about body positivity for them. It was all about revenge. But what is a lesson that we can learn from today's topic? Well, number one, make sure your beliefs are not holding you back from being who you truly want to be. Or if you are having trouble losing weight, if you're having trouble being successful, if you're having trouble being who you want to be, maybe really examine your beliefs and see like, okay, is it possible that I am subconsciously pushing away my own success? Because deep down, I believe that actually all people or pretty people are really mean and I don't want to be mean? Or do you believe that all rich people are evil and you don't want to be evil? So maybe that is why you have not been successful yet in your business. I think you need to really examine these beliefs and then challenge them. And you can do that by just looking at numerous examples of how that's not true. Actually, there are a lot of really generous and really nice, kind, rich people out there. Actually, there are a lot of really nice and kind and generous, pretty popular people who have always been beautiful and but are actually generally good people. So it is entirely possible for you to become thin and rich and still be a good person. The other lesson, though, is to learn how to stick up for yourself right away if you are someone who is not good at that, especially if you become really pretty and really rich, because you will be a target. You will garner a lot of attention, a lot of it not always good attention. You will get a lot of jealousy. And there are a lot more jealous people out there in the world than you would think. So you may have to learn to be a little bit of a mean girl, at least to those people. And you have to be okay with other people painting a picture of you that is entirely false simply because they are jealous, simply because that is how they view you. You have to be okay with that. Otherwise, you will never be authentically yourself. Anyhow, guys, that's all I have for you today. I thought this was an interesting subject. Shout out to Dee, who sent me this message. I'm glad to be of any help to you along your weight loss journey. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Be sure to check out my book, 1 Year 100 Pounds, which is the story of how I lost 100 pounds in 1 year on my own at 14, but also a tough love guide for how you can do it too. I also have my 1 Year New You guided weight loss journals, which are formatted after the exact same journaling method that I used to lose 100 pounds and still use today. I'm a big journaler, so if you want to check those out, I will leave the links below. And of course, my Patreon. As we know here on YouTube, I am censored from saying a lot of different things. It's gotten a little bit ridiculous, but if you want to hear more from me, if you want to see more of the videos that have gotten taken down, and just get more one-on-one time with me, then check out my Patreon. That's where I post exclusive content as well as have my discipline club where we do monthly fitness and diet challenges. And it's really awesome doing a community setting. We are doing all kinds of challenges. We're all getting fitter, losing weight, really fun. Come check it out. And also I am on Spotify. So if you like to listen to stuff more on Spotify, I am there as well. Spotify has both the video and audio, kind of just like YouTube, but you don't have to worry about the internet connectivity if you have the app or if you pay for the app like I do. So check that out if you feel like you want to stream me elsewhere. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you next time.